Michael, you're on mute.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to call to your attention before we get started that the video, or we will be making a video of today's session that will be recorded. So if you are not okay with that, then you would have to leave now and watch it later. But hopefully you are okay with that. The video will start on the next slide. Also be aware that your questions that you pose, the comments you make in the text chat, they will also be recorded, and we will be saving those and publishing them after the event. So with that done, let's get started. Welcome to the GEO LDN Technology Innovation Competition. We have 3 pitches coming up today. We're very excited about your pitches. We're joined here by jury members, by experts, and of course, other attendees and the presenters. And just so you're aware, this event is being held also. We have a simultaneous interpretation in both French and Spanish. If you would like to access that, then you have to first click on that globe symbol there and then select the respective language you would like to have the interpretation for. And just to make sure you can that you have access to the text chat, I'd like to do a little warm up with. I'd like you to open the chat window, and you do that by, of course, clicking on the chat bubble there, and then just type in hello in your local language, so your equivalent of hello from where you are, and let us know where you're dialing in from today, where you're calling in from. So in the text chat, please. A greeting, we have a hello, we have an hola, and another hola spelled differently. So great, a lot of holas today from Buenos Aires, from France, from Argentina. Wonderful. And just one note, make sure in the text chat that you are sending your text to all participants and attendees. There's a little drop down there. Sometimes that can just send it to the panelists or send it to somebody privately in the text chat. So, hello, I'm Wayne. Bonsoir. Very good. So lots of greetings from around the world. Wonderful. And I see that you're all pretty fit with the text chat, so that's great. We will be using that actively today to take some notes, to capture some ideas there. Wadu, hello. A couple other technical notes here. We will be using the question and answer window. Now, to activate that, you have to click on the icon if it's available to you, the Q&A symbol there. If you are an attendee, that you can ask questions in the Q&A, and we would like you to focus on asking your questions in the Q&A, using that as a tool. If you're a competitor and you have a speaking role, or you're an expert, that means you're what we call a panelist here in Zoom, and you can only answer the questions. And obviously, please only answer questions that are directed at your respective team, at your respective presentation, if you are one of our competitors. Please be concise in both the way you ask your questions and the answers that you give. And panelists can also use the panelist panel there. So if you click on participants panel there, you can raise your hand through that next to your name. You're able to raise your hand to call attention to yourself, and we can either call on you or note that you have your hand raised and ask you for your verbal contribution. And if you're in the attendee role, your role is rather simplified. Your options are simplified. You can, of course, contribute in the text chat, which you've already been doing, saying hello. You can raise your hand by clicking on that raise hand icon. That's a little bit different from the other views from the experts and so forth. And you can ask a question in the Q&A, as I mentioned before. So those 3 options you have for contributing. I'd like to start off just with a little icebreaker, just to get us started off in the right mood, and to see how well you can use your imagination. I know a lot of you are very creative scientists, a lot of very creative people in our presenter roles today. I'd like to show you an image, and I want you to guess just off the top of your head, very spontaneously, and in the text chat, what do you see? So first you'll see a very pixelated image, and I want you to use your imagination. Is it an island, a volcano, a dog, or a cat, or something? What do you see? And please just feel free to use your imagination. And here we go with our first image there. What do you see? What is that? What could that be? Please, in the text chat. Maybe you need to blur your eyes a little bit. Maybe you need to squint or make your eyes a little fuzzy, or take your glasses off or put them on. What do you see there? Who's going to be our first brave guess in the text chat? What do you see? So Anna sees a house, Astrid sees a mountain, a carpet, yes, the side of a face. Let me sharpen that up a little bit for you. Anything else? Doug sees land degradation. Time for a coffee break. What else do you see? It's getting a little bit sharper here. Anything else? Please be spontaneous. Don't worry. No rights or wrongs. What do you see? New York. Kathy sees New York City. I guess New York. What about now? Anything else? Anything coming into view? Astrid sees a beach in the dark ocean. What about the rest of you? What about our attendees? What do our Brazilian attendees see? What do our French attendees see? And we'll sharpen it up a little bit more. Anything coming into focus? Ah, Simon sees a baseball. Yes, it is the same one this morning. Franz, thank you not for spoiling the surprise. Very good of you to hold back on this. Yes, a baseball. Yep, we're in a virtual pitch, and so we thought the baseball would be a good symbol of a pitch. After all, we pitch in baseball. We throw the ball, and hopefully the batter will find it an excellent pitch and hit it very hard and knock it out of the stadium. And there is Yankee Stadium, Kathy, for you from New York. So we're hoping your pitches are all going to be very successful today. We're really excited about seeing them, and just wanted to start off with that little warm up with you to get you in the right mood. So here we go on to the more serious stuff. Let me tell you about the agenda, what's coming up today. We'll start off with some welcoming remarks. After that, you're going to have a brief introduction to the competition, just a little recap, and then we go into the pitches. Today we'll have 3 pitches. Those will each be followed by a question and answer session and brief feedback rounds, about 10 minutes for the feedback and questions. Towards the end, we'll have a general question and answer, and then we'll go to our wrap up. Tell you what's coming up, what are the next steps, some general feedback on our session today, and we'll be expressing some words of gratitude for your participation. So that's on our agenda. That's what we're going to be doing now over the next couple hours. And yeah, I'd like to start off with some introductions. If I could introduce myself, my name is Michael Tai. I'm the facilitator today, just handling the transitions, advancing the slides and so forth. And I'd like to pass on the microphone now to Anna, please.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I am an independent consultant. My name is Anna Marks. I am supporting the GEO LDN competition in a secretariat and coordination role, and specifically in the evaluation process. I'm really looking forward to see the presentations today, and I wish the teams all the best. Thank you. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you. And Sarah.
Hello, good day, everyone. My name is Sara Minelli. I am a program officer at the Secretariat of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. I will have a chance for some welcoming remark pretty soon, so I will just pass it over to the next team member.
Hi,
And
thanks.
that's Astrid.
My name is Astrid Möller and I'm supporting the competition as a human-centered designer. And you can see my video on the GEO LDN competition webpage. If you haven't watched it, you can still watch it now. And I will also put the link in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And let's go on now to our first speaker. We'll go to Doug, first of all, who's going to be telling you a little bit about just issuing the welcoming remarks.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I hope you can all hear me okay. As the slide indicates here, I'm the Senior Scientific Advisor at the Secretariat for GEO, the Group on Earth Observations. And as you are all aware, this competition is being held under the aegis of the GEO LDN initiative. And some of you may not be familiar with what GEO actually is. What is the GEO part of this competition? So I'd like to just say a few words about GEO. If we could go to the next slide. The best way to think about GEO, the Group on Earth Observations, is that it's a partnership. It's a global partnership of governments and organizations that envisage a future where decisions and actions for the benefit of humankind are informed by coordinated, comprehensive, and sustained Earth observations. And when we talk about Earth observations, many people assume that we mean satellite observations. That would be partially true. GEO is interested in all platforms that observe the Earth. So not only satellite observations, but those that are taken on the ground, in situ observations. We're also interested in observations that are taken from aircraft, from marine, and so any instrument that measures aspects or parameters of the Earth where the Group on Earth Observations is interested in providing access to for the betterment of society. The mission of GEO is to, if we can go to the next slide. The mission of GEO is to, as I mentioned, connect the demand for sound and timely environmental information with the supply of data and information about the Earth that's collected through observing systems made available by the GEO community. And in doing so, GEO works to unlock the power of Earth observations by facilitating their accessibility and application to global decision-making within and across many different domains. So now you can perhaps begin to see why the UNCCD, which is a participating organization within GEO, has been working under the GEO umbrella to provide Earth observations for improving reporting frameworks across the SDGs, and in this particular case, 15.3.1 for land degradation neutrality. So that is just a very quick introduction to what GEO is. If we go to the next slide, I just want to thank all of our expert committee members who have been looking at and helping evaluate your proposals. As you can see, they come from all over the world, and they have spent some of their free time to help us sift through the proposals. And so some of them are on the line now, and they will probably have a few questions for you. So we really appreciate the support that we've had from this team. And if you go to the website URL that's up there, you can find out more about each of those individuals. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your proposals, and I'll turn it back to Michael now.
Thanks very much, Doug. Before we go to the jury, the introduction to the jury, I'd just like to give the microphone to Sarah so she can tell you a few words.
Thank you very much, Michael. I just want to give a very brief welcoming remark on behalf of the UNCCD. And I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the importance this competition has for the convention and for its signatory countries. As you may know, as of today, we have over 120 countries that have committed themselves to set land degradation neutrality targets under Sustainable Development Goal 15. And out of these 120 countries, 60 have already endorsed those targets. There is a growing understanding or recognition of the central role that land use planning has to play in an effective implementation of land degradation neutrality efforts. If we can optimize what we do where, then we can bring the land back in balance and in turn achieve a range of multiple benefits. Counterparties to the UNCCD have recognized, though, that there is a technical challenge to be addressed before this can happen. And they have asked the UNCCD Science Policy Interface to stimulate the development of a demonstration on how a neutrality mechanism can be embedded into existing land use planning tools. So the GEO LDN competition aims to address this decision and aims to address this technical gap, while at the same time inspiring innovation, collaboration, and coordinated action around land degradation neutrality. So I would like to thank all those involved. I would like to thank the jury members, the experts, but especially the participants for contributing their time and ideas to make this happen.
Thanks very much, Sarah. And as you can see here, the jury members plus the link to meet the jury where you can find out more details on those members. And we thank those members who are with us here now today, live in the session. We had some jury members with us this morning in an earlier session, but a warm welcome to all of our jury members as well. I'd like to now move on and pass the microphone over to Antje, who's going to be telling you a little more about the competition.
Yes, good day, everyone. Hi from me. I'm Antje Hechelchen, and I'm a technical and policy advisor at the German Development Agency, the GIZ. I'm the co-lead of Working Group 2 in the GEO LDN initiative, which has developed minimum data quality standards for the SDG indicator 15.3.1. And together with Neil Sims and with Amos Kaboba, I'm co-chair of the overall GEO LDN initiative. Neil and Alex Swolev from Conservation International are co-leading the Working Group 3 of the initiative. And this focuses on supporting data analytic systems for LDN. Among the key tasks of the Working Group 3, you can move to the next slide, thanks, are to establish an open user community and develop open source tools and methods, and also to support planning, implementation, and monitoring of actions to achieve LDN from Earth observation and other data sources. This competition addresses both of the tasks. So we are building a community right now. It is you who are on the call who are building this community with us. One of the key objectives of this competition is to ensure that potential users of the proposed tools are involved with the development of those tools right from the beginning. So this is why we insisted that every proposal must include end users and technical developers on their team. And this is also why we engaged Astrid Möller, who you just met, an expert in human-centered design, to provide perspectives on the proposals and to be a resource for teams to increase their end user relevance and engagement. So please make use of this opportunity to engage with Astrid. Can move to the next slide, Max, thanks. Yeah, we have received 23 entries with participants from 36 countries on every continent. The entries each have a unique perspective on the key challenge of the competition, which is to develop software tools for countries to achieve the neutrality part of LDN. We have a fantastic jury and a team of leading technical experts that have assessed the written proposal according to the criteria that are published on our website in the competition rules. I would like to take this opportunity to already congratulate all of the 7 teams who have made it to the second phase of the competition, which is today's virtual pitch event. We have heard from 4 teams already this morning, and we are excited to hear from the remaining 3 in our afternoon session over the next 2 hours. The funding for the competition is generously provided by the German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ, and the Syngenta Soil Leadership Academy. The winners of the competition will receive support to more fully develop their proposed tool into one that is actually used operationally to integrate LDN into land use planning in many countries. To me, though, the greatest prize is the opportunity to have global impact on an issue of critical importance to the sustainability of our environment and to the livelihoods of millions of people. I wish all of the teams the very best of luck.
Thank you very much, Anja. And yes, we're coming to the really exciting part now, to the virtual pitches themselves. And let me just very quickly outline the procedure here. Competitors have exactly 10 minutes, and excuse us, we're going to be really strict with that time limit, just in the interest of fairness. So 10 minutes maximum to present. After the presentation, we will have a segment 5 minutes for experts' questions. After that, we'll go on to 2 minutes for juries' questions. And then finally, I'm sorry, 3 minutes, that's a typo there, 3 minutes for attendees' questions. So 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and 3 minutes there. And as I said, the time frame is kind of tight, so please be succinct with your questions and of course with your answers. Let me just go on to the give you an overview here of the different proposals. We have proposal I from Mary Grace, K from Silvestri, and L from Vanya. And as we say in English, break a leg. It sounds terrible, but we wish you well and good luck to you. We are going to start with the first one, and that is Mary Grace. And Mary Grace, I'm going to start your presentation. You can unmute your microphone. You can turn on your video camera if you'd like. And yeah, as soon as you start, your time will start running.
Okay. Good afternoon, GEO LDN committee and everyone here today. We call our tool Land Use Planning Assistant, or LUPA. Next slide, please. My name is Mary Grace Balinos, co-founder of Triángulo Austral Ingeniería e Innovación Limitada. My collaborators in this proposal are Dr. Daniel Vicente Lur Sierra, Jorge Pasmiño, and Matias Rebolledo. Our consortium is not complete without our representatives from the Responsible Consumer Cooperative La Manzana, represented by Robin Visselberg, and Kalawala Cooperative, represented by Julio Gerding. Next slide, please. Our multidisciplinary team has backgrounds in civil engineering, electrical engineering, geography, and agricultural engineering, and has varied experience and expertise on applied geographic information system, free and libre open source development, computational intelligence and remote sensing data processing, expertise in public policies, spatial development planning background, and programming and environmental data analytics skills. These are complemented by the experience and expertise of our subnational stakeholder groups through their association with local producers, small landowners, farm owners, and implements a scientific-based approach in sustainable land use planning and management. There are also our potential users to test the prototype. Next slide, please. We have observed that in governments like Chile, it is possible to find incongruent and contradictory development plans and policies in different sectors within the government due to a lack of consensus in the understanding of concepts and tools to use in urban and rural land uses. More so, the small landowners do not have the capacity or lack or insufficient capacity to analyze trade-offs and determine the best scenarios to manage their land in a scientific and quantitative way to aid the decision-making process. LUPA could bridge those gaps both at the national level as well as local community level. Next slide, please. The potential users could use raw or processed data from different sources and desired or multi-scale planning units and flexible or configurable trade-off parameters for scenario building along with specific LDN mechanism-related variables. The tool will be designed for landowners in remote geographies or working in remote places. Wherein they could still use the tool in their computer with low bandwidth and a small data approach. Next slide, please. The proposed tool, Land Use Planning Assistant or Lupa plugin, is a free and open source Python module and a plugin for QGIS for its user interface, both under the GNU GPL version 3 or later license, that will aid in the integration of the LDN mechanism and analysis of trade-offs with the selected land use planning model at multiple scales in addressing possible decisions or sustainable development strategy alternatives. The specific configuration parameters design of the land use models will be determined during the co-creation with the potential users, although we will be identifying some of them, and it will include the trade-off parameters that could impact land uses. The trade-off analysis will adapt a simplified version of the land use trade-off model. And on the other hand, the LUPA configuration parameters allow the tool to adjust to the specific need of each country, region, or community, depending on the scale. The tool could use the Trans-Earth data as a base for the LDN mechanism analysis. Alternatively, degradation information from other sources, such as government agencies or scientific research groups, can be used. The degradation data will be incorporated as the base input data of LUPA. The configuration parameters will be set by the user based on scientific studies and standards set by the government that will be assigned to each land use type. Two of the examples of land uses to analyze trade-offs that we will consider to test the capability of the tool are the competing land uses between small-scale landowners dedicated to farming and forest plantation, and the competing land uses for industries, urban areas, and agricultural areas, wherein both will consider cost of opportunity in terms of yields of production and land degradation. LUPA will try to show possible combination of trade-off scenarios based on the parameters set using a simplified version of the land use trade model. Next slide, please. Again, a LUPA Python module and QGIS plugin will be released under GNU GPL version 3 or later license, which is a well-established free and open source model. The data and information from other open source tools can be used as inputs, such as the Open Forest and Open Data Kit modules. Likewise, the outputs of LUPA are in the standard formats, which can be fed into other open source applications, such as Invest by Natural Capital or MarkSat. In addition, the core processing Python module could be imported directly into other FOSS tools. As mentioned earlier, the output of the Trans-Earth can be used as input-based data. Next slide, please. Oh, before, sorry. Yeah, we promote, we promote open data and it will be used by the tool. The majority of the analyses should not require sensitive data. However, if there is sensitive data, like data obtained from online services, will be transferred using a secure channel based on standards SSL when available to protect the data in transit. The data at rest, such as the outputs of LUPA, could be protected using asymmetric encryption based on state-of-the-art cryptographic standards such as Advanced Encryption Standard or AES 256. If necessary, critical or sensitive data could also be anonymized or obfuscated for special cases that will be evaluated during the workshop with the users. The metadata of the generated outputs will follow the default that in this case QGIS implements. The output data format like PDF, CSV, GeoTIFF, GeoPNG, Spatialite, GeoPackage can be accessed in other softwares that can be read. Next, please. Next slide, please. If the seed funding is awarded, the consortium will work to achieve technological readiness level or TRL4, which is a small-scale prototype technology validated in a controlled environment. To reach this goal, the proposed LUPA plugin prototype will primarily address the processing function of the tool, making sure that the configuration parameters will work with the data available for testing. It will consider 2 types of land use planning models and 2 to 4 criteria in the trade-off analysis. 2 workshops will be potential users are planned. First, define important variables and land use planning model, among others. And secondly, the first testing of the prototype to know if the usability is intuitive and adjust the design based on those observations. The prototype tool will be tested on a small-scale landscape area with a good representative of different land uses using several types of planning units, like watershed level or a graded planning units. If selected to continue to develop on a global scale, Triangulo Austral will invite planning specialists from various countries to further test the tool and receive feedback to adjust and have a balanced parameters that could be used by all regions, aiming to achieve TRL5, which is a validation and relevant environment, in approximately 6 to 9 months. During this phase, it is expected that more developers have joined the initiative, including more programmers and GUI designers and documentation writers, all of them coordinated by the core team at Triangulo Austral. It would need further workshop with planning experts, different experts in various land use streams, and exhaustive analysis of some international and or national policies in order to go through TRL 6 to 9. The duration of this phase could be estimated to 1 to 2 years of development and further research before being implemented globally. With the land use planning assistant plugin, we would like to contribute in the decision-making processes of small landowners and farmers, and also small-scale land administrators in weighing the possible trade-offs and still meet the land degradation neutrality of the area in consideration. Eventually upscale it to the regional and national level that would permit to achieve a base land use that could be used by different sectors within the government. We are looking forward to working with you in this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mary Grace. And thank you for paying attention to the time limit. Really, really great, just in time. I would like to now pass over the microphone to Sarah, who's going to be moderating the Q&A segment. So Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Michael. So since this is the first Q&A session, I just would like to clarify once more how this will happen. I will first give the floor to the expert committee members for any question for 5 minutes. Then I will pass it on to any additional question from our jury members. And then finally, I would take 1 or 2 questions from the attendees. And for the attendees, I'd like to specify you would need to write your question in the Q&A window, which is available in your control panel. So let me start now with any question from the jury. I see already 2 hands up, and I will give the floor to Ermias first.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And then thank you also. It's a very good presentation. I think I'm just wondering, because, we are using like trends Earth is really helping a lot in terms of, identifying the 3 indicators of LDN for country parties. And then I haven't heard you mentioning how you are going to link your tool with that trends Earth. Please, thanks.
Thank you for your question. We were thinking of using the outputs of the trends Earth, where you have this category of degradation, and based on that, we think that using that as a base when we analyze the land uses, when we do the decisions on the land degradation neutrality with the users, it could be used as an aid so that the policymaker or the staff or technical staff of the government, for let's say like that, so they would identify this beforehand, that there exists already this kinds of degradation levels within the land uses. So from there it would be incorporated in that way.
Thank you, Marie-Grace. I will now give the floor to Gilberto.
Thank you, Sarah. Marie-Grace, thanks for the presentation. Could you please clarify what is the specific role of the OpenEO in the proposed system. You showed this in the slide 5. Is it bringing interoperability between different analytics systems, or are you planning to provide the LUTO model on top of OpenEO in order to take advantage of any backend such as Google Earth Engine?
I will pass to answer this to Daniel.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. So the main idea of using OpenEO is, as you first mentioned, to interface to other other available tools, most probably open source tools. As we mentioned in our presentation, we are going to focus on this first stage of the prototype to small data, as in opposite to big data. So probably we will not be using huge amounts of data in the cloud or processing in the cloud. We are trying to focus on the other end of the spectrum. But if we need to use that, or if we are going to use data that is available through OpenEO, and this will be the result of the workshops with the user. So after the workshops, we will know which kind of data we will need in particular for this for the use case that we are going to test the application with. And for the case of we are going to adapt or we are going to implement as a very scaled down version of the LUTO model. So we are probably going to implement that in our core module, but in the case we will need extra functionality that is available in through OpenEO, we will of course use it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I will now give the floor to Kathy for one more question from the expert committee.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you, Mary Grace and the team. It's a wonderful presentation, very concise. I do appreciate that. In your conceptual block design diagram, you have a lot of arrows leading away from the user and into Lupa, and then out of Lupa and into stakeholders. Where is the feedback loop envisioned for information or lessons or data from the stakeholders or from the users back into the system once they have started using your tool? Thank you.
Okay, I will also reply to that question. Thank you very much. So the block diagram, it's mainly the structural block diagram. It doesn't really show what you are asking right now. So the feedback from the user and basically we will do it through workshops, which are, well, currently they will be held online because we are still in the peak of the crisis situation with the coronavirus. But we hope that later we will be able to do some presential meetings and workshops with the stakeholders. So basically the loop will be closed through the workshops. And of course, when we involve more people and more stakeholders that are outside our reach for immediate discussion or presential discussion, we will also use standard tools that are used in in open source development and, well, in any software development. So we will use issue trackers. That's more technical, of course, but we expect that a community will build up on around this development. So when we have this community, we will have groups and other ways to include the feedback from those people who are testing the application during the development stages, and afterward, after the deployment, we will also keep the project open to feedback and improvements from different levels of users, from technical to the user who are applying this in the field.
Thank you, Daniel. We have 3 minutes remaining. I will pass it on to Doug.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Mary Grace, for a great presentation. Just a quick question. One of the impacts that we're looking for is, the use of appropriate data sets and analytics for a specific concrete use case on the ground. Now, I know that you said that once the modifications have been made to the land use trade-off model, you'll be applying it to a pilot case, but I don't have a sense of how that decision process is going to happen and where the pilot case would take place. So could you say a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, thank you for your question. We plan to with our consortium, with their contacts of a land with the small landowners, we would like to get near to one or two of these property owners, or a landscape level scale, which is also near here where we are. So this is what we want to reach, and of course some of them we will have to do it online, unfortunately. And maybe Daniel also have to have some more to add. Oh, okay. So sorry. Sorry. So, and also the part of the thing that we gonna look at is the one that we mentioned about the competing land uses with the small farming and the forest plantation, which is also accessible for us, that is near where we are right now.
Thank you.
I think we have maybe time for one more question. And Alex, if you don't mind, I would give the floor. We have one question at least from an attendee in the Q&A window that just came in. And the question is, how stakeholder would be served? That is, how LDN activity at the grassroots level will be taken up. Will the model be applicable to other regions also?
Thank you for the question. When we were conceptualizing the proposal, what we thought is regarding the grassroots is that one of the problems that the small scale landowners is that they don't have the access to the information and to base on the decision making that they want to do with with their land. So this tool and the output of this could help them. It will definitely help them in their decision making because of the different activities that they do, and with that, with the small scale and with an additional adjustment to the parameters, it could level up to the region as well. And with when we test it, and then if we have the opportunity to make it a bigger scope of area, we could always ask all the other stakeholders or users of how to adjust it, but how to adjust the parameters so that it will be also applicable in other areas or part of the world also.
Thank you very much, Mary Grace. We ran out of time, so we have to stop here. I had one hand up from an attendee. I have to please ask all attendees to type in their question in the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen, because we have really very limited time and we find it more effective to gather all the questions in a written form and then pick up those questions that have not been captured yet. So I thank you for your understanding in this regard. I will now pass it over to Michael to introduce the next team.
Just a quick note to follow up on what you just said, Sarah. I would like to encourage all the audience to write questions and ask questions, and also to type comments in the chat box if they have them, but to please identify the proposal with the letter of the proposal so that we know to whom the comment or question is directed. It was the only remark. Thank you.
Michael?
Yes, thank you. I just typed a little example there in the text chat. So question relating to presentation I, what time, blah, 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 your question, and so forth. That would help us sort it out a little bit better afterwards. And you might notice if you don't have your video on, if you're not looking at the kind of matrix tile that Astrid is, she's got her analog clock there, and she's also helping keeping time with this. So you might want to check her out as well and see how you're doing for time. But we're going to get started now with the second presentation. That's proposal K. And I invite Sylvester to come up and turn on your video, turn on your microphone. Just let me know when you want the next slide and we'll advance it. And thanks to Mary Grace, and thanks to all the contributions and questions that you were asking there. And I'll remind you, please be succinct again with the questions and with the answers. And Sylvester, please keep in line with the 10-minute limit. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I'm trying here to start the video, but it's telling me you can't. So is it possible that maybe you might do it for me? Oh, I can do it without video, actually.
As you like. You can ask to start the video.
Okay, well, no, okay, it's fine without video.
As you like.
Yeah, will be great. Okay, so let me know when whenever that video is not working on later on. Okay, no video. So my name is Sylvester, Sylvestre Manga, so it's Team K. So it's keeping repeat here, video. Start my video later.
That's strange. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, so my solution consists of an online GIS smart, inclusive, balanced, and integrated land use management, Land LDN clearinghouse mechanism solution. It seems to be very long as a title, but it's very practical. And I have actually a few papers that have been published already, and people are very comfortable with the title and what's described. So please, second, next slide, please. So thank you. I'm the team leader here. And then I do have one regional agent, collaborator, which is to me a regional stakeholder or end user, and which is actually the Pan-African Agency for the Great Green Wall, and which actually has 11 members, and all the members will be the subnational stakeholder group. It's interesting to see that. I know from Astrid perspective of view perspective could be very difficult to handle all these people, but you know, the secretariat of the agency is working very, very hard, and all these folks have been will be really involved in this. I'm sorry that I won't have a video to show here as far as this very particular point concern, but I'm working very hard with them, and there's a lot of coordination going on, and I think we're going to have here a first clearinghouse mechanism that UNCCD, CBD, and the Climate Secretary Convention also are going to be very proud of. And I'm thankful that UNCCD is going to take the leadership here in this matter if we will go further here, because I think land is the base of everything. Land is the basis of biodiversity and climate, and we all know that. Next, please. So we have, as I said, a quite a relevant experience. We have been conducting academic research on the promises of the tool throughout the last decades. It is in this competition, we seek to demonstrate the technical functionalities of the tool in reporting and anticipating LDN. In reporting, the tool suggests a digital online live reporting mechanism on land use degradation. So you take it from all indicative 15.31, and everything will be included there. The mechanism, which is the scientific mechanism, everything will be there in that reporting there. And as far as the anticipation in LDN concern, the tool suggests trading of land component and subcomponents through optimization to code ecosystem with their indicators, allowing to feed their residents while ensuring their self-regeneration. And I'm going to share with you that I have made many presentations or conferences on this. Scientists, politicians, and everything is everybody is very looking forward to see how this is going to solve the problem of anticipation, not only in LDN matter, but also in biodiversity and climate change. So, and then also the anticipation aspect. So there is also a possibility of making simulation of in this anticipation process after a few years of implementing of the solution. That would enhance the potential of the anticipation of LDN. Why the tool? That would be the next one, please. Why the tool? The tool aims actually to fill the gap on LDN anticipation to enhance land use planning mechanism. It is a must in LDA perspectives. We have to anticipate and to see how far we can go on the land. It's also to fill the gap of landscape geomatics, because all these technologies that we are having here, geomatics, I'm specialized on that, and they have limits. They have limits how? I'm not saying maybe scientific. They're doing very well in monitoring and everything. We're doing very well, all scientists there. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all scientists who has been investing on that, and others too in social sciences, because actually the GIS aspect, I mean, technology has also this connection taking, I mean, involving also others scientists in social sciences, economics, and whatever. And it's interesting to see this, and this is very important. We're doing very well, but there's limit, because now the international community wants to know, in terms of clearinghouse mechanism, for instance, how we can have crusade of lands, how we can many projects in many countries, how they can work together and pursue some common objectives. And then the clearinghouse mechanism, which will connect many managers of many countries and many areas, of the same kind of landscape. Well, the geomatics is not really helping into that. So, and we need those things, and then those clearinghouse mechanism where people can greet and meet with donors and then funders and find together a solution. And so all this limitation would have to bring us to innovate in terms of technology helping those things. As far as the perspective, the user's perspective are in this solution. The solution, the tool will install online digital landscape and cadastral mechanism right in the offices of managers to conduct a live land use planning. Folks, it's due time now to know exactly what is going on our land when there's limitation on the ground, so that we may anticipate a solution and work with those who are on the ground and those who are really managing. Users are the UNCCD and the international community. I want the solution to be available to all those secretaries who are working very hard to advance environmental matters on the ground. And I want also the international community to be to access to these technologies, so that all of us, through generation, we might be able to handle those urgencies. So each end user has a specific needs. I really enjoyed Douglas' question in the previous presentation. And in this pilot case, which is the African Great Green area, So the specific needs is to anticipate LDN under threats such as climate change, overpopulation, overproduction, and cadastre issues due to overpopulation. Because you and I, we know, well, in this particular matter and in this region, land is being restored. And as land is being restored, while people are coming in. So we have to anticipate the pressure which is going to be into LDN and also in biodiversity and everything. And these things to me are very important. So can we go to the next, please?
You have around about 2 minutes left, Sylvester.
Oh, 2 minutes left. Thank you. That's it. So what is the tool? Will be consisting of hydroelectric, solar electronics. Maybe we can go to the following one so that people might follow. The following one, because the following one, so we have, the following, the next slide, whatever, please. So we have here all these tools that are involved, because actually it's a it's an interface with several technology. And then we have everything going to remote sensing and GIS, and then the IT security center and clearinghouse mechanism, and then all the UNCCD parties. Next, please. Next, please. Thank you. So the output of this tool will lead to LDN-related decisions, enabling sustainable development indicators, so and human rights also implementation and clearinghouse mechanism. This brings in really the other side of technology. Thank you. And the whole goal is to anticipate LDN by trading off land component and subcomponents with both single objective optimization and multiple objective optimization as it suits. How will the tool meet the requirements? Please, following on. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So the tool will use both clue and looter and even other available to reach out the maximum of users for the sake of sustainable development. We will use codes to be adapted for use by other open sources. The tool will be integrated to Trans-Earth to magnify the LDN analysis functions with our LDN anticipation and simulation functions.
Sylvester, this is Michael interrupting. I'm sorry, but the 10-minute limit has expired. So
thank you. Well, yeah, thank you. I will just have to then. Yeah, thank you.
Just in fairness to the others, if it were me, you could go on until you finish. But just in fairness, we need to keep everything the same for everybody, and so yes, we'll be able to look at your conclusions offline.
Yes, yeah. And maybe thank you. Some of the questions from our expert and jury members, you will be able to complement what you were not able to explain during the presentation. So I will open the floor for any question from our expert committee members. Kathy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvester. I have a couple of questions, but I think the one I will ask is, how much of this tool has already been built? Your proposal mentions quite a few academic papers and research projects, but I don't see specifics like the diagram that was shown earlier. How much of this tool has been built already, and when do you envision it will be completed?
Yeah, well, thank you, Kathy. This is a lovely question. So, well, as far as how much, we all know applications in GIS and remote sensing. So that please bear with me, because that has been already done. And I just want to take things over at the next step now that we know all those things. So as far as you're right to say, as far as like my company in this implementation, that's the question is very, very good. Actually, as I said, I have been working through the last 2 decades, I think even more, on the promises of the solution. But the solution, to me, it has been implemented like the 80% already. Now it's just to bring it into a perspective where there would be inclusivity. I'm taking the opportunity to bring in the information that I have not have a chance to present. Bring it inclusivity on the ground so that all might be participant on base, participation of the population. But I think it's a very good question. We know all about all those tools, remote sensing, GIS, we have done it, I want it now more participation of the population, and also to help really in reporting, in bringing actually the landscape into the offices to be managed and reporting to be really online and digital. And the clearinghouse mechanism, of course, for exchange of information.
Thank you, Sylvester. I will have to ask you to be brief so that we can have more questions. Floor now goes to Mariano.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Sylvester, for the presentation. Super interesting proposal. One question that I had is in terms of the tool itself. So you mentioned that there's going to be a web component. In the slides, it also mentions a phone app, and you mentioned integration into Transit-Earth, which it's in its current form, it's a QGIS plugin. Could you talk a little bit more about what each of those components would do, or how do you envision the actual tool, the user interacting with the tool?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, Mariano, what your question. To me, Transit-Earth has done a very good job for the moment, and we can't do without that. That landscape analysis. Now we have to me, it's a continuation of what you folks are doing. Me, I'm very keen in taking advantage of things that we know, the things that we have already been doing well, existing tools. So I'm just going to bring in this land degradation anticipation in saying where we can go on this land, and then from there find the ways, or take the decision which will bring us there. So to me, I would just get into your system, and you are kind of going to absorb me because your existing system, and I'm going to have somewhere there a room where it's land use degradation anticipation. And then I can use your data or data coming from elsewhere, and then magnify them and use them to project them in the future and see optimally what we can do, and from there take the help end users to take the right decisions.
Thank you, Sylvester. I will give the floor now to Antje.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Sylvester, also. My question goes to the user involvement. You have the support letter, and also part of your consortium is the Pan-African Agency for the Great Green Wall. I was wondering who is your national or sub-national stakeholder who you are working with, and you're also talking a lot about involving and participating the population. So whom exactly do you mean with this, and how will you work with them?
Oh, thank you very much, Auntie. Well, the thought is that the agency is keen, because actually, if you see the text of the normative provisions of the text, they're kind of coordinating, and they have 11 in those countries, 11 national structures, they call them, and they are national manager. So those are on the ground, and I have contact with quite a few of them, including also UNCCD in those countries, UNCCD focal points, because they are not the same. So they know what's going on the ground, and also the agency secretariat also have that global vision of actually reaching out to regional goals so that everything might be coordinated, because it you see, it's a natural geographical area that has to be, to me, and which is very, very smart. They did that. Very well coordinated, to be very homogeneous. So there are 11 of them, but the 11 of them are in their countries, knowing what is going on, and I'm going to work with them. And in Senegal, for instance, where the one who is in charge is a friend of mine, so they're very keen in participation of the population. Because of the online thing, there's something here, Angie, that you and we know. And I've been to Africa running a project for the UNCCD, and I see that people like everything which is smart. They can do everything with their smartphone. Well, let us go find them where they are and use them to bring up information, and then nationally and globally, I mean, regionally in that area, that we would go forward in terms of land degradation towards land neutrality degradation.
Thank you very much. We have 3 minutes left. I would like to take one more question from the jury, because I see Alex has his hand up. I will ask you to be very, very brief in the answer, because we also have one question at least from the attendees. Alex?
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Sure, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Sylvester, for the presentation. And I can make it sort of a yes or no question. This is sort of echoing Kathy's question, but to get very specific, there's a lot of different moving parts in what you propose, including the information clearinghouse, the monitoring piece, and then also the neutrality piece. A key requirement for this competition is that tools implement a neutrality mechanism for land use planning. Can you confirm that piece would be completed by the CRIC, since that's a key requirement of this competition?
Yes, I think, Alex, what I'm going to do in this level, so in my in the document that I have presented, you will see that there is a component which can be made a party in a section in that solution, and the other one in the implementation. So the yes, I think so, because I'm going to work with the terminology of trans-earth, and take all those components and reach and take data there, and then work with those data to really work into that mechanism, neutrality mechanism. I mean, carbon, land cover, and others component. I think we will be able in this competition to run the practicality of the solution as far as the scope of the competition concerned. And I would love to be able to run out also the clearinghouse mechanism with those 11 countries, just to show the functionality of that. And we're going to take things from there and then advance in there. And everybody will be actually, asked to contribute in the coming future years. Sorry, a little bit long. Thank you, Alex.
Okay, so we take one question from the attendees. The first one that came in was, what is the role of farmers in the design of the tool?
Thank you, Sarah.
Would you like to respond to that?
Say it again. So I thought he was asking the question.
Farmers in the design of tools.
Yeah, well, the farmers are going to bring up all information on the land and through smartphones. And that's really, really interesting, because when the managers, national managers are not there, they know what is going on. You know, locust attacks. All those things that will, or abusive use of the land, they will be able to handle that, to see that, because they observe that, and they will be part of that. And I think that's really what I want, because I want involvement of the farmer himself, who is, local communities and then local population, and then there will be a specific part of that. Sarah, now I don't know if this answered your question.
Yes, very good. There is another question in the Q&A, and Sylvester, I would invite you to respond it in a written form if you can. But we will now move on to the next team.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvester, for your presentation.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, thanks, Sylvester, and
thank you,
Sarah, and welcome, Vanya. Are you ready for your presentation.
Hello. Yes, totally.
Okay.
And I'd love to just see if Simon and Luis are the two team leaders that we can hear them.
Thank you, Vanya. Simon here as well. Can everyone hear us loud and clear?
Cool. And Luis?
Luis here speaking. Can you hear me?
Fantastic.
Yeah, perfect.
Let's
okay,
go.
I'm going to start the timer now and start your presentation, and here we go.
Okay, hello, my name is Vanya Westerberg from Altus Impact. I'm excited to present you with our pitch to develop a land degradation neutral software tool. For this endeavor, we have a strong technical team with more than 50 years of combined and complementary experience. I'm an economist myself. I've worked more than a decade on the economics of land degradation, ecosystem restoration in countries dealing with the consequences of a land degradation. Michael, you can switch the slide there. So Vanya, me, and then we have Luis Costa, who's a biophysical and remote sensing expert, and Simon Reynolds, who's a full stack software developer, and whose expertise will talk for itself later in this pitch. In our consortium, we also have, and next slide, please, Groundswell International, which is a global partnership of civil society organizations that strengthen rural communities and farmer organizations in Africa, Americas, and Asia to create healthy farming and food systems. And we will be working more closely with two of their members, notably CICOD, Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development in the Upper West region of Ghana, and the Partenariat pour le Développement Local in Haiti. These are organizations that are working to promote agroecology and sustainable land management using farmer-to-farmer-led approaches. And they also work in close synergy with municipal and physical planners who will also be engaged as we pilot our tool and test our prototypes in our pilot landscapes, being Upper Western region of Ghana and Haiti. Now, on to the next slide. Why do we need this tool? Well, quite simply put, we all know that. We need a tool so as to enable and empower decision makers to achieve no net loss of healthy and productive land at both subnational and national level. Not just so that countries can achieve their LDN targets, but also because sustainable land management and restoration of our landscapes deliver a lot of co-benefits from helping adapt to climate change, combat climate change, driving economic growth, and enhanced food security. But currently, and unfortunately, there is a gap in the market for an LDN tool that sits between larger commercial tools that are available and scientific tools today. And we need that tool to be easy to use for administrative, non-technical users, development land use planners from local to national levels, NGOs, or even agro-businesses that are sourcing cash crops from large areas. These are end users who want to know where they should intervene so as to stabilize, reduce, and reverse the land degradation that's going on, but also how to counterbalance any unavoidable losses in natural capital. And so that means we also need to understand how different stakeholders are impacted by given land use changes. And so in this regard, our consultations with end users have also shown that they want to be able to plan for land degradation neutrality with a view to delivering the highest return on their land use investments, specifically with respect to strengthening food security and building disaster risk resilience to climate change. We envisage that this can be taken a step further by technical tool users who will be able to create their own analytical layers and add data sets, for example, plant wildlife corridors, transhuman corridors, grazing areas, flood risk maps, so as to create a really comprehensive integrated land use planning tool. And so on that note, I'll give the word to Luis, who will talk a little bit more about what the tool is, how it works. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanya. And next slide. Yeah, thanks. So I will now guide you through our vision of the tool. The tool will start by making use of historical data from authoritative data sources on dimensions like land cover and vegetation indices in order to forecast the likely patterns of land degradation for the next 10 years. In case that the trends of the past repeats itself, like a business as usual scenario. The end product of this analysis is a synthesis map in which the user can visualize the location and the type of the forecasted degradation, as represented in the business as usual map in the figure below. Next slide. From here on, the user will be asked to act upon the forecast that was previously made by identifying particular land uses and simulate management options to halt the loss of an ecosystem provisioning service inside the same land use class. For example, anticipated losses in food production could be counterbalanced by enhancing soil carbon uptake through sustainable land management practices. The user can opt to shield agricultural land from process of urbanization, or the user can ask to enhance water harvesting measures like those in the WOCAT database in order to increase agricultural production. The planner has to plan in such a way that losses are balanced out at the end of the forecast period, as seen in the graph showing the projected losses and the required gains. Of course, in the planning spirit, users will have probably to reiterate these steps a couple of times, identifying, planning, and visualizing the results. And in this process, we will also collect feedback from our users. Next slide. Now, there are certainly trade-offs to be made when planning for land degradation, and these will depend on the nature and the intensity of our interventions. It is a low-cost measure to enhance crop production by expanding, for example, agriculture into natural areas, as seen in the top of the business as usual column. But this will not achieve LDN, or land degradation neutrality. On the other hand, if we choose to implement sustainable land management practices, scenarios S1 and S2 illustratively at the right, it will require investment costs. But on the other hand, we expect a wider range of benefits in terms of crop productions and halting land conversion. We expect users to leverage on such summary tables in order to avoid unwanted trade-offs for their region of interest. This was the vision of the tool. To show how the tool will meet the requirements of the call, I hand over to Simon.
Thank you, Luis. So moving on, thank you. Visually, our tool will inform users on the state of land degradation at the regional, sub-regional, and district level, clearly displaying the anticipated effects on key indicators. An important requirement to our stakeholders is to develop an easy-to-use, cloud-based tool. To achieve this, we propose to use Google Earth Engine combined with a custom front end. We appreciate that this is a concern to the panel, and we will continue to investigate existing open source land use planning tools, for example, CPAL, that could be built upon to meet our design requirements. Regarding integrations, we see two main integration points. Firstly, as the analysis and calculations of the indicators will be performed on well-established datasets available as image collections within Google Earth Engine, these could be substituted with users' own datasets, including sensitive data, to be held privately under their own account. Secondly, at the planning stage, users will be able to import and export neutrality mechanism balance sheets. The import can either replace predicted values with the outputs from other tools, including trends.earth, or be used to load scenarios of known changes into the system. This would be completed by adjusting the data at the regional, sub-regional, or district level. Where applicable, the tool will follow fair data principles, for example, with the forecasted datasets. Now moving on to the next slide and the project plan. There are many components to our proposed toolkit, and if we selected to proceed, we will work to the displayed roadmap. We will utilize an agile approach focused on regular meetings and demonstrations with our stakeholder groups, and this will allow feedback to be incorporated into the design and ensure the end product addresses their needs. We will start with a proof of concept focused on visualizing the data, scenario planning, and displaying the trade-offs. This will be targeted for the sneak peek preview event in December. After this, we'll work to incorporate the forecasting of data, filter layers, and import and export functionality. In early 2021, we would look to enhance the tool further, including support for private datasets. Thank you. That concludes our talk for today.
Thank you, Simon. That was exactly 10 minutes. Thanks. Sarah, I'll pass on the microphone to you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for a very clear and concise presentation. I will now open the floor for any expert who may have questions on this proposal. I will go first to Kathy, since she is part of our expert committee.
I was going to let someone else try and go first, but
okay. In that case, I will break the rules, Kathy. I will break the rules and go first with the jury member because he was the first one to raise his hand. So Doug, you.
Oh dear. I don't mean to run roughshod, Kathy. Well, okay, I'll try to be concise here. Being an atmospheric scientist at heart, whenever you talk about forecasting, that immediately raises my interest. In weather, obviously forecasts have to be validated. And I'm just wondering if you can say something about how you're going to validate the forecasts that you, for land use that the tool will provide, you know, on what kind of time scale would that happen, and how is this going to be co-designed? I guess that's kind of a threefold question. Thank you.
Should I start and then Simon and Vanya can complement?
Yes, please go ahead.
So the forecast is always tricky. So we will learn as much as from the past. We will make use of historical data sets on land conversion, for example. And of course, while looking into the past, we will cut up slices of some particular years and then see if we can project the next 10 years, but still within the past. So we will take like a out of sample analysis, and then we see if we can reproduce the past. And if we are confident that our model can reproduce the past, then we also have some confidence in looking into the future. And we will keep it quite short, so not so much into the future, but something like around the 10 years mark, which we think is a good compromise of not so short term, but still you can do some planning and some aspects of land degradation neutrality. So the forecast is indeed a tricky thing, but I think we can manage by doing this kind of iterations with the past data and see if we can forecast if we can reproduce the past developments on land conversion.
So unless anyone from the team needs to complement, I would move.
So I was just going to say, in terms of the co-design, so we're looking to hold regular demonstrations and feedback sessions with our stakeholders to ensure that we're meeting their needs. And one of the sort of points or uses of the tool that came up from early discussions was that it's all well and good establishing that we need to halt conversion by this much, or we need to increase productivity of land by a certain amount, but actually identifying where these interventions can be made for the maximum impact. And the example we had was that in order to reduce flood risk and to enhance agricultural land, sustainable land management practices are a good example of a way of combating this. But to ensure the maximum impact, we could look to provide an analytical layer that helps the end users identify where they could do these SLM practices for maximum impact, which would be, in this example case, slopes over a certain gradient.
Yeah. And so the validation very much comes as well then from that interaction with the end users, also in the calibration of our data.
So thank you all. And now, Kathy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Very nice background on your slides. I don't have a sense yet of which components are actually built for this tool. Could you share with us which components are ready, which have been built and tested and are ready, and which and whether you believe you will be on schedule to have a complete tool that is tested and validated and ready for prime time by the end of the proposal or the project period? Thank you.
Who goes first, Luis?
Sorry.
I'll jump in then. One of the pieces of feedback was that competition organisers didn't want us to start coding or building anything until we'd been through this process. So we haven't started development work on the tool, but we believe that for the sneak preview event, we could create a proof of concept. Now, this won't be a robust production release ready piece of software. This will be something that can be used in this design iterations to capture feedback, and also to, if we are chosen to proceed, give yourselves an overview of what we're working towards. Then in terms of once we've got that and we've got that feedback, we can then look at enhancing it to a more robust solution to be released at the end of the project timeline.
Thank you.
And in terms of sort of quantifying some of the impacts, there we have an already established valuation methodology, for example, coming from the Economics of Land Degradation Initiative, using price-based or avoided cost approaches. So you can say components of the theory or the methods to be applied on the economics front is already developed.
So I will take one more question from our jury expert group, and then I will move to the question from the attendee. And I will give the floor to Alex.
And thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Vanya and all. So my question had to do with the scale at which the tool would apply. In your proposal, you mentioned that the tool could be relevant to different types of users, for example, technical and administrative users. And then also in your presentation, you showed some sort of first subnational level assessments, but then it sounded like you were also talking about perhaps optimizing, for example, SLM approaches. So is this something that you'd be envisioning the tool operating at a national scale? Are we talking about actually, say, plot or pixel level? What scale would the tool be useful for decision making?
So both national and right down to the district level. So by starting with pixel level images of already classified land conversion, for example, we can then overlay shapefiles and do summation of the pixels within that. So we can produce the sort of summary visualizations at the layer that makes the most sense to the end user. So if you're not interested at the district level, then we can do it at the national, subnational level.
Whilst bearing in mind that the end users we're working very closely with are operating at the district and subnational level. So we will, think at the beginning, focus on testing at this scale so as to see if the tool meets their needs and requirements.
Thank you. I will then read out now the question that we've got from the attendees. So following up on the forecasting, climate and society are changing rapidly, moving in uncharted areas. So how much can you learn from past developments to predict the future needs and land use under such changing conditions?
We can learn, if I may, we can learn the best we can, because apart from that we know what happened. It's a guess. I mean, when we do the forecasting, we will attend that we can reproduce it, the past, and of course climate is changing, but in the realm of 10 years, climate role will be not so pronounced or not so strong as looking forward into 30 or 40 years. And indeed, you cannot predict the future. So our forecast is the future as we best understand it, as it happened into the past, and is still the best guess that you can have for a business as usual scenario. Now, you would have to be probably very, very wrong if you forecast something and then you act upon this forecast and things change very, very massively over the next 10 years. Let me underline that it's 10 years on the biophysical, on the ecosystems. It's not 10 years on society. I think people are now, through the period that we live, things change very fast, but it was on a societal level. On the kind of ecosystems, things take a little bit longer. And when you look at the 10 years window, I think we can be relatively good that that the past is a good approximation, and it's the best approximation we have. On the interaction with the stakeholders, they might warn us that actually things might change more rapidly because they know something that we cannot detect from our data analysis, and this will be integrated. But as a starting point to start discussing with the planners, I think it's we still think it's a good alternative. And if things change really fast and we get this information from the end users, then, or from the stakeholders, then we will of course reflect that.
And on the socioeconomic side, we also have trusted data sets that are providing updated information, for example, on prices of major commodity crops. So that can be, integrated and used.
Thank you all three of you for the concise answer. I'm afraid we ran out of time, so unfortunately we won't be able to take the additional questions that we had from experts. I will pass it over to Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Lewis, and thank you, Vanya. I'm sorry we have to cut this short, but we're going into now a general question and answer session. So aside, just zooming out, what remaining questions do you have? And this may be an opportunity to continue with your questioning here. Into the Q&A window or into the text chat, what questions do you have at this point before we go to the wrap up?
And this could also be questions from the teams regarding next phases. It could be really anything.
Okay, judging on the lack of activity in the chat window, I'm interpreting that means no real questions. Of course, we're available later for questions on the platforms. There are lots of different ways to reach out to us, but if I see no more questions here, then we'll go on to the wrap up today's session. And yeah, that involves, first of all, the next steps, what's coming up. As you're probably aware, our next step is the sneak preview. So some of you, perhaps all of you, will go on to the sneak preview workshop on the 10th of December. We're very excited about that. We wish you all the best for that. And of course, in the first quarter of 2001, the demo and award at the Creek. So yeah, again, good luck with that. And we look forward to seeing you at the sneak preview workshop as our next kind of step here in the process. We would like some general feedback from you, just very briefly, very spontaneously, and make sure you post to all panelists and attendees. What feedback do you have for us today? Thinking about our virtual pitch, it's a kind of new format, right? What did you like about it, and what can we improve on? So you can answer one or the other or both as you like, very spontaneously, quickly in the text chat. What did you like, and what can we improve on in thinking about as an event like this? What did you particularly like, and what can we improve on? Thank you, Mark. Very quick. Great. And please publish to all panelists and attendees. There's that drop down there so that everybody can see. Thank you, Murat. Good to see you again. Thank you, Mary Grace. Right, and feel free to continue to contribute in the chat as to what you liked, what you think could be improved as we move on to just share a little thanks, a little recognition with you. Of course, we're deeply indebted to our experts, to our jurors, to our team here, and also to our presenters. And this is not a thank you slide because we thought, well, we just have so much thanks it wouldn't fit on a slide. So thank you all. This is our appreciation to you for your great ideas, all the work you've put into putting the presentations together, doing the recordings, you know, submitting everything on time. We know it must have been a little bit stressful for you. Thank you for your vibrant pitches, if you were just an attendee, your attention there. We look forward to the sneak preview. We're really excited about that. And so in closing, thanks, and we'll see you at the sneak preview. And don't forget, if you have any questions, any comments, just get in touch very easily at the following email address or via the website, as you're all probably familiar with. And yeah, just one more slide for you to leave on, and this to our pitchers here. Thanks very much for your contributions today, and yeah, I think a lot of success today. I saw a lot of really good presentations, and we'll all be in suspense until the decisions are made, but thanks again to everybody, and thanks again to the entire team. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you once again to all the experts that participated and the jury members. Thank you all. Thank you to the teams.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
I see there was a question in the chat box by when the results will be communicated. We do not have a set date yet. We will try to do it as soon as possible. At the latest, it will be by the 17th of November. It will be contingent to the possibilities for the jury to convene in a consensus meeting. We'll do it as soon as possible. We'll send the results to the team leaders, to all the team leaders that participated in the virtual pitch. And thank you all once again.
Yes, we have recorded the presentation, Simon. Thanks. And yes, we will be sharing.
Cool. Super. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Another presentation will be on the platform, correct?
On the website, on the competition's
on the
website.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you to our interpreters. Merci, gracias.
That's right. That's right.
Hard work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I will stop.
I think we can. Yes, exactly. I think we can close the session.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Have a good
Thank
afternoon.
you.
Bye.
Are we doing a wrap up anywhere else or not?
If you'd like, I can share a Zoom link
Yes.
for a Zoom meeting. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, I will do
Right.
that then. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.